Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 100 Literary and Jury Charge. I'm going to start off with a selection from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Okay, here we go. Ready? There is something magical that happens to the human spirit, a sense of calm that comes over you when you cease needing all the attention directed toward yourself and instead allow others to have the glory. Our need for excessive attention is that ego-centered part of us says, "Look at me, I'm special. My story is more important than yours." It's that voice inside of us that may not come right out and say it, but that wants to believe that my accomplishments are slightly more important than yours. The ego is that part of us that wants to be seen, heard, respected, considered special, often at the expense of someone else. It's the part of us that interrupts someone else's story or impatiently waits his turn to speak so that he can bring the conversation and attention back to himself. To varying degrees, most of us engage in this habit, much to our own detriment. When you immediately dive in and bring the conversation back toward you, you can subtly minimize the joy that person has in sharing, and in doing so, create distance between yourself and others. Everyone loses. The next time someone tells you a story or shares an accomplishment with you, notice your tendency to say something about yourself in response. Although it's a difficult habit to break, it's not only enjoyable, but actually peaceful to have the quiet confidence to be able to surrender your need for attention and instead share in the joy of someone else's glory, rather than jumping right in and saying, "Once I did the same thing," or "Guess what I did today." Bite your tongue and notice what happens. Just say, "That's wonderful," or "Please tell me more," and leave it at that. The person you are speaking to will have so much more fun, and because you are so much more present, because you are listening so carefully, he or she won't feel in competition with you. The result will be that the person will feel more relaxed around you, making him or her more confident as well as more interesting. You too will feel more relaxed because you won't be on the edge of your seat waiting your turn. Obviously, there are many times when it's absolutely appropriate to exchange experience back and forth and to share in the glory and attention rather than giving it all away. I'm referring here to the compulsive need to grab it from others. Ironically, when you surrender your need to hog the glory, the attention you used to need from other people is replaced by a quiet inner confidence that is derived from letting others have it. Okay. I've got some legal terms along with a legal paragraph. You're going to hear testament, disposed, holographic, handwritten, addition, testate, verification, certification, executed, attestation, non-cupative. All right, here is your paragraph. All right, here we go. Before a person dies, he can state in a last will and testament how he wants his property disposed of after his death. A non-cupative will is an oral will. A holographic will is a handwritten will. If a person dies without leaving a will, then that person is said to have died intestate. A person who leaves a will has died testate. A change or addition to a will is called a codicil. The verification or certificate or certification appearing at the end of the will, alleging that the will has been properly executed, is referred to as the attestation clause. All right. I've got an article for you. This is called A Part for Chris. He was born with a big handicap, but he had two things going for him: a loving family and a lot of heart. Here we go. Ready? When Marion Burke discovered she was pregnant again at 39, there seemed no reason for anything but rejoicing. Her husband, Frank, was a New York City police lieutenant. Their teenagers, Ellen and Annie, and their 11-year-old son, J.R., were such all-American kids that they got jobs as child actors and models. But a few hours after the birth in August 1985, Marion's longtime pediatrician stood at her bedside with an expression Marion had never seen before. "Your son is going to be a little different," he said. The words cut through Marion and Frank like a knife. They held hands tightly as the doctor went on. Christopher would be handicapped. He would probably never be able to read, and he might not even be able to feed himself. You should probably consider institutionalizing him right away before you get too attached, the doctor said. Marion and Frank couldn't imagine it. Devastated but determined to care for their son, they took Chris home. Gradually, the Down syndrome, as he would have it, as the condition is called today, became evident. His speech was slurred and garbled. He was 2 years old before he took his first wobbly steps. It would be years before doctors realized that the learning ability of an infant with Down syndrome can be raised by exercises and stimulation. But the Burke family did just that from the start. His sisters, Annie and Ellen, sat with the 2-year-old in front of a mirror playing a game to help him talk. Eyes, they would say, moving Chris's hand toward his eyes. Nose, mouth, they repeated slowly, taking his hand from feature to feature as he gazed at their reflections, attempting to repeat after them. Whenever he got a right word, they showered him with praise. The more applause he got, the happier he became. J.R. worked on his younger brother's coordination. To Chris, J.R. became the patient hero who helped teach him to swim and would play catch without getting annoyed, even when his partner missed the ball a dozen times in a row. J.R. and his friends took Chris along to play basketball. They let him try to dribble and shoot by himself. Chris was 4 when his parents entered him in New York's Kennedy Child Study Center. One morning, he astonished his mother by bringing her a box of Cheerios and saying, "Look, here's my name," then picking out the letters CHRIS. Although he made steady progress in reading, math gave him more trouble. When J.R. tried fruitlessly to teach him the intricacies of money and making change, Chris sighed and, taking a line from Popeye, said, "I am what I am, J.R." Then one afternoon, when Chris was 8 years old, he found a decade-old box of glossy professional photographs taken of J.R. and Ellen and Annie when they were child actors in television commercials. Eagerness shining all over his freckled face, he haltingly announced, "I want to do that. I want to be on TV too." Frank and Marion exchanged looks, their hearts aching. It was against their nature to tell Chris he couldn't do something, and yet it would be wrong to let him build up false hopes. Marion searched for words. "I don't know if there would be any parts available for you, dear," but she hadn't reckoned on the sunny confidence behind Chris's smile. "Well, you never know," he said finally. Chris never forgot his dream. Over and over, he practiced lip syncing his favorite tunes and dancing whenever a teacher put on a song. He got his first part in a school pageant playing a shepherd. His first speaking part was in the Emperor's New Clothes. His line was, "Ha ha, what a joke." He practiced until he was practically saying it in his sleep. "I want to be an actor," he announced afterward. Okay, I'm going to stop there. We'll continue in our next class with this article. I'm going to give you some closing arguments. Okay. All right, here we go. Council has made a big point about Mr. Meso being a working electrician. He is no more a working electrician than Mrs. Neer is. He kept his union card for 20 years because he gets benefits from keeping it. He hasn't worked as an electrician for 20 years. He gets on the stand and, under his attorney's prompting, says, "Really, what I wanted to do was become a journeyman electrician. That is really what I wanted to do." Garbage. He is making $89,000 a year. He no more wants to be a journeyman electrician working in the field at 54 years of age than any rational person would want who happened to have his work history, and yet that has been added up there. He just arbitrarily took some numbers and said, "Now multiply by some years, and my God, we come up with $1 million easy." There is one other little point. Who says he would work 40 hours a week, 12 months a year? There has been a slowdown in the industry around here, unless you have got your own business, and there is no testimony that they work full time all the year around. But Mr. Roseman, he has got his chart made up. All right, I may be boring you. It has been a long trial, and there have been a lot of things said. I am not trying to duck any issues. What I am suggesting to you in plain old English is that this lawsuit has been deliberately and intentionally built. Just that simple. You know, I am not much of a diplomat. I say what I think. And I think there is plenty of evidence in this record to substantiate this, and yet they want the lady to be responsible for it. We are interested in justice here. That is really what we are here for, justice, whatever that little thing means. Mr. Meso is entitled to justice. But, ladies and gentlemen, that lady is just as much entitled to justice as anybody in this courtroom. It hasn't been pleasant for her sitting through all of this, listening to this. There is nothing wrong with him that came from this accident. Nothing. Okay, and that concludes our 100 literary and jury charge selection. Have a great day.